During our New Year's dinner, my dad locked eyes with me and said, completely calm, "You'll be covering your brother's tuition now, $12,000. No excuses. I slowly raised my glass and replied, "I'm done financing this household. You won't be living off my income anymore. From today on, I'm cutting everyone off." My mom froze, her fork slipping from her hand. My brother blinked and muttered, "Wait, what?" You know how people love to talk about holiday miracles. New beginnings, healing, families growing closer. Yeah, my new year delivered the opposite. A $12,000 ultimatum and me tapping my champagne glass like I was officially done playing nice. Let me back up. I'm Maya. I'm 29, live in Chicago, and work as a senior marketing analyst. I pay my own rent, student loans, utilities, everything. And until very recently, I was also quietly keeping my entire family afloat, like some unseen financial safety net. More on that in a minute. This New Year's Eve, I drove 3 hours to my parents' house because my mom insisted I had to be there, not because they missed me, not because they wanted to see me. Her exact words were that it was a family obligation. That should have been my first warning sign. I walked into the same house I grew up in, the one that still displays my high school soccer trophy like it's part of a shrine to my past achievements. My mom was already in the kitchen, stressed and bossing everyone around. My dad was opening wine bottles like a diplomat preparing for negotiations. And my younger brother, Derek, was stretched out on the couch playing Fortnite, acting more like a visitor than someone who lived there. Now, here's the important background. Derek is 21. He already dropped out of college once, and just 2 weeks ago he suddenly decided he was ready to go back, this time to a pricey private university, and somehow that decision became my bill. He doesn't have a job, he doesn't have a plan. What he does have is an unshakable belief that someone else should pay for everything, and somehow that someone has always been me. So we sit down for dinner, turkey, mashed potatoes, wine, and those strange green beans my mom insists are fancy. I try to calm myself, I really do. I keep telling myself, just survive the evening. Don't react, don't start anything, and then it happens. We're halfway through the meal. I'm in the middle of cutting my ham when my dad suddenly looks up, spears a piece of meat with his fork, and says, in the most casual, emotionally crushing tone imaginable, "You'll be covering your brother's tuition. $12,000, you have to. Not, would you consider helping, not, we're struggling, can we talk, no, just a command," like he was issuing an order and I was expected to obey. And my mom. She didn't even look at me. She simply nodded and took another sip of her wine, as if this was some routine family update. You ever have that moment where your body goes completely numb but your face doesn't move at all? That was me. Inside, I was screaming at how normal this had become. At how easily they expected me to give everything while taking zero responsibility themselves. I glanced across the table. My brother finally looked up from his phone, blinking like he'd just realized he was part of the conversation. I stayed quiet for a second. Then I slowly lifted my champagne glass and tapped it lightly with my fork, like I was about to make a toast. Everyone turned toward me, probably expecting something sweet about family or togetherness or whatever people put on inspirational mugs. Instead, I said, "You shouldn't be living at my expense. I'm done sending money. From now on, this family won't be receiving anything from me." The room went completely still, not an awkward pause, not uncomfortable quiet, dead silence. My mom dropped her fork. It hit the plate with a sharp clatter like something straight out of a dramatic movie scene. My dad's expression tightened. His eyebrows shot up as he muttered something like, "Excuse me," and then Derek, the golden child, the whole reason this guilt-filled dinner was even happening, softly said, Wait, what? Derek. Like he hasn't been coasting for years while I quietly carried the weight. Like he never borrowed my car for an entire month and brought it back empty on gas, complete with a parking ticket. Like I've ever once thrown any of that in his face. Let me ask you something. Would you keep giving if no one ever said thank you? If your own parents treated your paycheck like it belonged to them, because over time that's exactly what it became. I wasn't a daughter anymore, I was a walking piggy bank. They never saw the late nights, the vacations I skipped. The way I broke down last year when I had to turn down adopting a dog, not because I didn't want one, but because after covering Derek's failed summer class, I couldn't even afford potential vet bills. But this time I wasn't swallowing it. This was my line in the sand, my new year. So tell me, was I too harsh? Should I have softened it? Or was finally standing up for myself the only thing that made sense? because I promise you, that single sentence at dinner changed everything. They just didn't realize it yet, but the family dynamic had officially been rewritten, and in part 2, I'll tell you exactly what happened next. Let's just say words were exchanged, secrets came out, and someone ended up crying in the laundry room. Wanna guess who? Drop your guess in the comments. You know that split second after you say something explosive and the entire room freezes. That was me, still holding my champagne glass, heart racing, as my words echoed through the dining room. This family will no longer receive money from me. Like I'd just broken a spell, my mom stared at me like I'd just insulted her, fork frozen halfway to her mouth. My dad went completely still, like someone had hit pause on him. Then, as if a badly written drama suddenly kicked in, my mom snapped. "Are you serious right now, Maya?" she said sharply. "This is your brother, your family, and you're acting like you don't belong here. You have a good career, we assumed you'd want to help." As if I hadn't already covered Derek's first semester. As if I hadn't stepped in last winter to pay the electric bill when the heat was about to be shut off. As if I wasn't already exhausted, financially and emotionally. So I finally said what they didn't want to hear. "You mean you assumed I'd stay quiet and keep paying forever?" Because that was the real issue. They didn't want support, they wanted control. That's when my dad joined in. A man who barely speaks unless it's about football or lawn work suddenly found plenty to say. "You're ungrateful," he said. "After everything we've done for you, you'd let your brother struggle? Ungrateful." The word landed hard, like I hadn't worked for every dollar I earned, like I was the burden. I actually laughed. I couldn't stop myself. "Ungrateful for being raised, that was your responsibility, not a debt I owe for the rest of my life." That one struck a nerve. My mom's face turned red. My dad set his glass down and muttered, "You need to watch your tone." Meanwhile, Derek, the entire reason this conversation existed, finally spoke up. I'll give him this, he didn't yell, he didn't even look angry, just confused. "Maya, I didn't know they were going to put it like that," he said. "I mean, yeah, I hoped you'd help, I just didn't think it was expected." Even he seemed caught off guard by how far they'd taken it. I looked straight at him and said, "You're 21, Derek. Maybe it's time you get a job and pay your own tuition, just like I did." Remember when I worked full-time at Target while finishing my degree? He dropped his eyes to his plate and didn't say another word. I stayed quiet. And then my mom, master of twisting things, said, "That was your choice, Maya. You didn't have to struggle. We thought you liked being independent." Independent. Is that what they call being left on your own? I started shaking, not just with anger but with years of guilt finally spilling out. So I said it straight, "You rely on me because I don't say no. Because I'm the successful one, but that doesn't mean I owe you. I owe myself peace, and I'm done carrying everyone." I stood up. The table went silent, except for Derek awkwardly stirring his drink. Before leaving, I added, "Don't ever mistake my silence for agreement again." I walked out, not the house, just the room. I needed space. Standing in the hallway, I realized the truth. They didn't see me as a person anymore, just a resource. Have you ever felt like your family values what you give, not who you are? That's exactly how I felt. I texted my Aunt Rhonda, someone who always saw me. She replied instantly. And what she told me, this wasn't the first time my parents had done this. I'll share that in part 3, including the family secret that changed everything. So tell me, was I too cold or finally protecting my peace? I stepped out just to breathe. Inside, it felt like all the air had been pulled from my chest. Ever been in a room where people talk at you, not to you, like you're not a person, just a solution to their problems? That's how I felt standing in my own childhood home on New Year's Eve, somehow cast as the villain. I sat on the stairs, gripping my phone, hands still shaking. I kept wondering if I'd gone too far. Then my mom's calm voice replayed in my head, "You have a good job, we thought you'd want to help." As if choosing to help and being expected to carry everyone were the same thing. I texted my Aunt Rhonda. Dinner blew up. I said no. They turned on me. I don't know what to do. She replied almost instantly, "You did the right thing, Maya. I've been waiting for this." That stopped me cold. Waiting for what? I called her. I needed to hear her voice. What she told me didn't just change the night, it changed how I saw my family. She didn't hesitate. "They've always been like this. I stayed quiet to protect your relationship with your mom, but you need to know." Then she said it. My parents had borrowed money from my grandparents to pay for her college, promised to repay it, and never did. Years later, when she asked about it, my mom told her, "You shouldn't expect handouts from family." I felt sick. Aunt Rhonda kept talking. She admitted she mishandled things with me years ago and that I was never being helped, I was being charged. My success in their eyes belonged to them, not support, repayment. That's why every dollar I sent was met with silence, not thanks. They weren't grateful, they were collecting what they thought I owed. I went upstairs to clear my head. The old guest room, once mine, now a storage mess, was quiet. On the dresser sat a pile of unopened mail. One envelope stood out, thick, worn, my grandfather's handwriting, already opened. I slid it out. Inside was a check for $15,000 written to Derek, dated 3 months before my grandfather passed. For college, with love. My stomach dropped. That money could have covered everything. And yet downstairs they were demanding mine. They never told me about the check, never mentioned Grandpa had already handled it. That's when it hit me. This wasn't need, it was manipulation. And the worst part, the letter from my grandfather said something that changed everything. The letter said, "Derek, I'm proud of you for going back to school. Use this well. I hope you and Maya both do great things, and don't let your parents pressure her. She's already done enough." That line hit me hard. She's already done enough. Grandpa knew. He saw how much they leaned on me. He tried to protect me, and they hid it. That's when it clicked. They knew they were crossing a line. They just didn't care. They were counting on my guilt, my silence, planning to use Grandpa's check and my money. My hands were shaking as I took photos of everything. I wasn't leaving the proof behind. And I made a decision. I wasn't walking away. I was going to say it out loud, at the table, in front of everyone, especially Derek. He deserved the truth. I walked back downstairs holding that envelope like a weapon, not a real one, but the kind truth can be, the kind that cuts deeper than shouting. And when I stepped into the dining room, the look on their faces said everything. I'll tell you exactly what I said and what my mom tried to lie about in part 4. Spoiler, she didn't realize how much I already knew. So tell me, would you have confronted them right away or waited? I was calm, the kind of calm that comes after you stop giving them the benefit of the doubt. Have you ever felt that? Seeing your family not as untouchable giants, but as small, flawed, and scared of being exposed. That was me, 1 foot on the last step, staring at the people who once tucked me in and now tried to bleed me dry. I walked into the dining room. Everyone looked up. Mom's arms were crossed, probably plotting her dramatic speech. Dad sipped wine like he had no part in this. Derek just looked confused and guilty, like he'd finally realized he'd been used. I said I found something upstairs, thought we could all read it together. I slid the envelope across the table, heavy, silent. Dad recoiled like it was a snake. Mom froze. So I opened it myself and began reading. "Derek, I'm proud of you for going back. Use this wisely. I hope you and Maya both do great things. Don't let your parents pressure her. She's already done enough." That last line hung in the air. I let them feel it. Then I unfolded the check and placed it on the table beside their wine glasses. "So this is what you had," I said to my parents, "and you still tried to squeeze $12,000 out of me." Silence. "Did you think I wouldn't find it? Planning to cash it and take my money too?" Still silence. Then Mom tried to spin it. "That check wasn't reliable," she said, sitting straighter. "Your grandfather was confused toward the end." We didn't want to complicate things for Derek. "Confused?" I said, looking at the clear handwriting. The check was signed, the handwriting steady. "No," I said, "he wasn't confused. He was protecting me because even he could see how you were using me." My mom's jaw tightened. My dad looked like he wanted to speak, then thought better of it. "You told Aunt Rhonda the same thing, didn't you?" I continued. "That I was your second chance, your do-over, like my life exists to fix your past mistakes." Then something unexpected happened. Derek spoke up. He looked at them, really looked, and said, "You didn't tell me about the check. Grandpa wrote that for me and you just hid it." For a split second, my mom's lip shook. I thought an apology was coming. Instead, she said, "We didn't think you were ready. We thought Maya could help until I burned out." I cut in. "Until I gave everything. Until you decided I'd paid enough for mistakes that weren't even mine." I didn't raise my voice. I didn't have to. The room went silent. "Family doesn't lie," I said. "Family doesn't manipulate. And family doesn't hide a dying man's gift to control one child and coddle another." No one argued. I stood up. "Here's what's happening. I'm not paying Derek's tuition. I'm not covering your bills. And if you ever shame me for having a stable life, remember this: I built it despite you, not because of you." I grabbed my coat and headed for the door. I didn't wait for a reply. But just as I opened it, I heard my dad say, "I sleep better now. I wake up without dread." I finally booked my first solo trip, something I'd wanted for years but always felt guilty spending on. Oh, and yes, I adopted a dog. His name is Crash. Wild, stubborn, barks at the wind, and loves me like I hung the moon. Perfect. Final thought and a question for you. If you're reading this and feel like I once did, exhausted, responsible for everyone but yourself, hear me. You can say no, you can keep what you earn. You can love your family and still protect your peace, and if they can't respect that, it's on them, not you. So here's my question: what would you have done? Walked back in like I did, or closed the door and never looked back? I'm sharing this not to be dramatic, but so you might feel seen too. New year, new peace, new me.